Understanding China. China has been constantly in the news lately for its deteriorating diplomatic relationships with Western nations, for issues like control of the South China Sea, the origin of coronavirus, trade sanctions, the Hong Kong riots, and restrictions on freedom of the press. At the same time, it is increasingly obvious that China is now one of the two most powerful nations on Earth. Hearing the news and realising just how real China's ascendancy is has made me reconsider some research I did last year. Learning as I did that in the 19th century, gunboat diplomacy and the Opium Wars led to China being subjugated by Western colonial powers provides a stark contrast with China's position today. In the past 20 years, China's gross national product has increased 14-fold. I wanted to understand this transformation. The Opium Wars were a defining moment in China's history. The European powers imposed humiliating treaties which enabled these foreign forces to gain a powerful grasp on the nation. These European powers occupied enclaves in China, extending legal extraterritoriality to their own citizens, making them exempt from Chinese law. The imperial dynasty was disbanded, the Chinese people were humiliated, and huge reparations were paid. By 1840, there were 10 million addicts in China, induced by the European opium trade. China's independence was virtually destroyed. The industrialization of China came at the hand of their Western exploiters. The West introduced modern industry into these trading areas to take advantage of Chinese cheap labour. Ironically, this process of industrialization set down the foundations for the economic and industrial growth of China after the Second World War. Napoleon Bonaparte once remarked, "China is a sleeping lion. Let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will wake the whole world." China is now awake and is putting its stamp on history. Under Xi Jinping, the Chinese state has been run as command and control communism, meaning there is totalitarian social control combined with the economic benefits of capitalism. China's GDP is $13 trillion, 13 times Australia's. It is expected to soon be the largest economy on Earth. China's economic might seems to have caught the capitalist West off guard. We can see that the Western powers both inadvertently destroyed and industrialized China at the same time, milking its resources without constraint, but providing the basis for economic transformation. China now has the power to throw its weight around. It pledged $4 billion in aid to Pacific Island nations, outstripping Australia by 4 times and overtaking us as the largest donor in the region. This is cementing its political power. It has been estimated that a third of all world shipping passes through the South China Sea. Control of this strait is being hotly contested, with China on numerous occasions flaunting its military power and threatening Taiwan. This is a prime example of the effect of China's growing power. Australia's reliance on trade with China is immense, with 25% of our imports coming from China and 30% of our exports going there. This trade dependence contrasts with a lingering distrust of China, which began over a century ago with our fear of invasion by the Yellow Peril. This prime example of deep-rooted stereotypes drives our underestimation of China's place in the world. The hypocrisy of relying on the sale of raw resources and in return buying finished products while turning a blind eye to its human rights abuses is contradictory. At the same time, we don't adequately respect China's cultural identity. In recent weeks, we've seen mounting political pressure as our diplomatic relationship with China sours. The arrest of Cheng Lai, the premature departure of numerous other journalists, shows the fracturing situation. So, Australia is now at an important crossroads, particularly because we're caught between our trading relationship with an increasingly powerful China and our alliance with the United States. It would be unreasonable to argue that the treaties the Western powers used to gain a chokehold on China are not so dissimilar from some of the tactics used by China today. Again, it's ironic that we manipulated them and now they're returning the favour. If we're to improve our relations with China, we need to understand better what it has gone through in its long history of subjugation to the West. Overcoming our suspicion and fear will enable us to better work through our problems with China over human rights, military aggression, and trade. If an insignificant 14-year-old can see the obvious need to reconcile our contradictory relationship with China, then surely our politicians do. I do believe that we need to start thinking of it as the economic, military, and political power that it rightfully is. The Western powers that took advantage of China now have to constructively confront the reality of Chinese power. Thank you.